Mike Soroka, Atlanta Braves.
Oh, all-star.
All-star. How does that sound to be an all-star?
It sounds crazy.
In Major League Baseball, by the way. We're not talking Babe Ruth. We're not talking high school. We're not talking college.
You didn't create this player in the show.
Major League Baseball, there is no league above that. So for you, what does it mean to be an all-star at the highest level that you can possibly play this sport?
I mean, it's crazy to think about, really. I mean, it's something that you never really even set as a goal, right? I mean, it's something that you come into the season.
Well, I did, and I failed miserably, but go ahead.
I mean, then now I'm looking forward. I mean, it can be something that you put out there. But I think, being just young, and I mean, didn't even make the starting rotation at a camp because I was hurt. It's just something that I wanted to be at and be competing for the team. But yeah, I mean, really playing MLB The Show and all that kind of stuff, you want to be an all-star. You play with all those guys in the game, and no, just to be around the hotel, even see all the guys that you grew up watching. So it's pretty cool.
You said this wasn't necessarily a personal goal of yours, something that you have on your radar to start the season. You obviously mentioned, battling injury coming out. What were the personal goals for you starting the season? Because you're probably just 2 seconds talking to you. You're probably more of a process-oriented individual than what the results look like.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I'm guessing that there was something that you had on your mind aside from staying healthy, and clearly not the All-Star game, because you knew that was going to happen. What was it?
It was to stay healthy and be in the big leagues the rest of the year. I mean, give the team a chance. I know it's cliche to get out there and win,
real.
but with our offense that we have, all we really need to do is get out there and throw. It is, and I mean, we get out there and throw 6 solid, and there's a good chance you're coming away with the win. So I mean, that's the goal for me, was just to be able to understand the process, understand what it's like to get back with the team, and kind of settle in, and I felt that pretty quickly this year too. Got in there, and it's no secret the talent we have in the minor leagues too coming up. So
unfair.
It is. It is.
We're keeping coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have an interesting question. So for you, young guy, first All-Star selection, and it's kind of like right out of the chute. You don't seem nervous at all. You don't seem overwhelmed at all. Like, how did you has it even hit you yet that you're here, that you're an all-star, that you're doing all this? I feel like this is something that you're going to look back on years from now and be like, wow, it just kind of happened.
Oh, that one time, that first time I was an all-star?
That
first time I did that? That was...
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said earlier, it's just, you think about all the guys that you watched growing up, and I never really watched too much baseball until I was probably 13 or 14. Hockey was my life for so long. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, the old man played a lot of years of hockey. And
Gotcha.
Okay.
I always thought that if I was going to do anything, it was going to be in the NHL.
He'd be on skates.
Yeah, exactly. So,
quite a shift.
That's my new line.
You like
by
that?
the way.
You get that? You get that? Shift.
I did pick
you like
that
that,
up.
Dad?
Yeah.
Shift.
Yeah. When people ask me my height, I say 6'1" on skates. That's my new thing.
Program height.
Yeah.
So with your progression through the minor leagues, there's always individuals who have an impact on your career in one way or another, whether it's physically helping you prepare, mentally helping you prepare, or just by being a pure example of what not to do. And I know that you probably have somebody like that in your organization as an instructor. I don't mean to name. I'm not going to say Dan Meyer's name because it's not important. But if you had somebody like that in the organization that you spent time with, what was he able to help you with? How was he able to kind of prepare you for the ride that was ensuing?
I mean, Dan was my first pitching coach, really, for a full season in Low A. I mean, you know him well. He's Dan. There's nobody like him.
True story.
That's a good way to say. But he's been through so much. He'd been through injuries. He'd been through struggles. He'd been a high prospect at one point too, and he was awesome to be able to hear stories from and listen to, because, like I said, he's been through so much.
Well, I have to assume that probably helped, because you're able to kind of go back on to those conversations and those moments dealing with the injuries after you've left, Dan, but kind of remembering those stories, remembering, look, there's guys that have been here, guys that have done this, guys that have encountered this. I can sort of tap back into that and keep myself on track as I try to grind my way through this process.
Yeah, I think what he was biggest for me was keeping things fairly light and understanding that it doesn't have to be so serious all the time.
Yes.
You know, I learned pretty quick in low A that I wasn't going to be able to take a serious approach to the game every single day. Over, 140 games in the minor leagues and 162 up here. You can't do that. You can't do that to yourself. It's too much stress. So Dan was really good at finding the funny things in the game. You know, have a laugh in the fourth inning after if you bobble a ball or something like that. He was really good for that, and that's how I kind of learned to take an easier approach to the game and ultimately have more fun doing it.
So are you a guy in the clubhouse? Are you a fun-loving guy? Like I was, and I say this all the time, I was nowhere near good enough to be like the hard-ass guy every 5 days. Like I needed to do that one day, the day that I pitched, because again, not that good. They're going to need the best out of me. But after that, I can probably try to make it light, make it fun. That's where I'm going to be better served. How do you blend in to the clubhouse on days that you're not working?
I feel like it's dependent on a lot of things, but I think obviously as a rookie you get in there and you're pretty quiet to start.
Sure.
But as you kind of get to know guys a little better, then you start to move it along and found that my place is just kind of to be the guy that's consistent every day. I know it's a big saying, you want to be the same guy.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't want to be that different guy when you're pitching bad. You're miserable and you don't want to talk to anybody. But when you're doing good, you're
everybody's
you're
best
the life
friend.
of the party, right? You don't want to
cool.
be that guy. So, for me, it was about coming to the field with a smile every single day, saying hi to everybody, lunchroom, wherever that might be, weight room, kind of moving around. I try to stay off my phone as much as I can, and a lot of our clubhouse too.
I like that. Is that a rule within the clubhouse? Is that something that you guys have kind of like just hit like, hey, I think we understand that we have this time here together. We're all trying to focus and get something done. We're better served doing this together, trying to kind of police ourselves in this regard, or is that just something that's kind of manifested organically?
Yeah, I think it's just you don't see any of our veterans doing it. Markakis, Freeman, McCann, you don't see them sitting around on a couch doing absolutely nothing. But really, obviously, you don't want to be doing too much. But with our new clubhouse, there's so many places to be.
Right, you can hide.
I'll go through a whole day, bullpen day, workout, and I won't see people until the game starts. And everybody's kind of got their thing, but as long as you're doing what you need to do to get ready, that's what matters. So. Some guys, if they have a plan, I'm going to go sit and relax on a couch from 2 till 3.
Sure.
That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
But then 3 o'clock hits, I'm going to go in the weight room.
Take me through a start day. Boom, you've slapped the alarm clock. You're waking up. You haven't even brushed your teeth. Ready to go.
I actually got into this thing called Wim Hof breathing.
Sure, absolutely. You did Wim Hof method. Oh, you like to get cold, do you?
Well, I did.
You like to get cold.
Too.
All right.
I got into that too.
You've lost me. I don't know what's
so,
going on here.
it is
Jared couldn't handle
basically a yogi guy.
Yes.
And essentially learning how to control your autonomic nervous system. And I got put on it from my dad over here, and
Pops knows what's up, man. He's putting you on game.
He does,
we're probably gonna cut you off here very soon and just get him over here.
Well, you might be able to. But no, Syndergaard, there was an article on that too that he'd been into that. So I got into that on start day. So I guess it's best when you wake up. So hit the alarm clock, do that, get first shower, and then I try and get a bigger breakfast because that's usually the only meal that I can eat a lot in on start day.
Yeah.
Other than that, I just don't feel like eating. It's not
the nerves.
It's not that
baby.
I'll throw up. It's not that I'll do anything. It's just
you can't eat.
No.
I was the same way.
So drink a lot, drink as much as I can. Water that is. And
not a big JMO guy before you start.
Yeah. Probably not
understandable.
But no, it's get going and just try and do something in the mornings, whether that's go out and have breakfast outside or it's clean around.
Is that like
the
if you're on
house.
the road? What about on the road?
Yeah,
Hotel,
definitely
just
go
get
out
up
there
walk around,
and
get the body moving.
Yeah, do something. And usually when I get to the field, I like to do something as well. Whether that's a quick bike, 15-minute spin just to get going, move around a little bit and wake up. I find if I sit around all day and nap, I'm gonna be lethargic when I get out there and just not going to want to throw hard.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. So
you mentioned like some of the guys, like the veterans in the clubhouse, they sort of set the tone for the younger guys. Did you seek out anyone in the rotation to sort of be like, all right, I'm latching on to this guy, I want to be like this guy? Or was there a guy who came to you and said, hey, you know, like, I'm going to take you under my wing, follow my lead?
I think it was a little bit of everything last year because our rotations changed so much in the last 2-3 years, really. But I think the guys that stayed there consistently is Julio.
Yeah.
And he's that guy every day. And I know a lot of people, he doesn't get the credit that he deserves because, I mean, he comes to the field and he does his job every single day. I mean, he's been the horse for the Braves for a long time.
Forever.
He set such a high bar when he was young, but people don't give him credit for what he does every time out. I mean, he battles with everything he's got, and I think he's the guy you can look towards. I mean, he's out for stretch on time every day. He's getting his work done in the weight room, and he's not taking days for granted. He's not playing the veteran card at all. I mean, he's out there working hard just like everybody else, and that's the guy that I think all of us followed.
Who's your catch partner?
Josh Tomlin on days that I don't bullpen or
Sure.
He's the best catch partner I've ever had. I mean,
Why?
It's in this circle every time. And sometimes I'll miss one low or up, and I'll say my bad, and he misses one outside of my head, and he's saying
my bad. Yeah.
You know, it's just he's that good with that. So.
Who's the dude that's like you guys are heading to the ball bucket, and you know, like maybe it's a day where Tom's not available. You know, who are you throwing with, or who's the guy that you're like, nah, bro, nope. Like you see him go into the bag to get a ball, and you know he's going to be looking around, and you're like, nope, no, I'm already good. I'm going short, not going long way.
I think right now that guy's Minter.
Yeah. Is it just everywhere and hard and?
Yeah, and he wants cutters too. Right?
Yeah,
lefty cutters
blowing
right
you
here,
up.
And he messes around with a few different pitches too. So I mean, his stuff's so good. Where I mean, he throws hard and it moves a lot, and that's just.
Yeah, good luck. That's I watch Lou Trevino and Blake Trinan play catch with each other in Oakland, and I'm like, what? Like, what? I wouldn't even want any part of that. Like, I don't even want to watch that game of catch.
Either guy.
No.
Yeah, no. Pass on both of that. So a couple of things when we were talking to guys who are first-year All-Stars, their stories of how they were told. You're like, how were you informed that, hey, you're an All-Star?
For me, it was in the clubhouse. We were in New York and kind of getting ready for a game, and Snit called a team meeting, and I was the only additive because Freddie and Acuna had already been voted in. But you know, I was kind of blown away because as much as you think, you look at the stats and you look at the year and you think, wow, I guess I'll be there, but you don't know. I mean, there's so much good talent around the league that I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't. Right.
Yeah, we're not gonna sub 2 for a little bit. Not
yeah.
a big deal.
That's a great starting point. That's a great starting point.
So I mean, it just we were in the clubhouse and got to give a lot of hugs to the bullpen and position guys, and then obviously the catchers this year have kind of flopped between Flowers and McCann, and got to say that, you know, I really feel like I learned every single time out and it got better, and it's just kind of. I wouldn't be here without any of them, right? Some good plays, save a lot of runs too. So,
was there ever a point where you were like, "All right, my phone hasn't rang. Like, I know what those numbers look like. Let's not fucking kid ourselves here. Are they seeing what I'm seeing? Like, how does this work, people? Am I gonna? Is it via Twitter, or how does this happen? Because you're clearly very humble, and rightfully so. You, again, process oriented, so I understand the mindset, but I also understand there's times where you're just laying in bed going, I'm really good. When are they going to let me know how good I am and just give me the nod? Like, do I get the plane ticket in the mail? There was never any of that?
You know, I think a little bit. Obviously, you have the confidence.
Yeah.
That, I mean, every time you go out there, you're if you don't have the confidence that you got the stuff.
Well, every time you're going out there, you're dealing. You're embarrassing big leaguers. So it starts to mount, and the numbers start to pile up, and you're like, just another notch.
I mean, honestly, that day I had a couple of coaches come out to me and kind of give me that look that I knew already, and I didn't because nobody told me anything, and I said, do you know something I don't here? But
and they're like,
they said, well, usually they call ahead of time, and that's when I was like, shit.
See, that's where you're like, all right, this is not happening.
We're not gonna call me. I'm
on
gonna
the
call
phone.
you. That's which is totally understandable, especially the first half that you had unbelievable, but for the Atlanta market, it's not a huge market, but you're a very well-spoken guy. Like do you have like a ton of practice like speaking to the media? Because like we've talked to like younger guys, they sort of clam up. You're very well-spoken. Where does that come from?
I think it comes from him.
Yeah,
really, and
we're gonna have to get you over.
Wim Hof is all I needed, man. I got him pegged.
Yeah.
I know he's spoken in front of large crowds when he worked for the government for a while and a while, I guess 25, 30 years. So
That's a while.
Decent chunk.
Yeah, so I mean he did a lot of that, and it was a lot of
DMV by any
confidence.
chance? I got some issues with the DM. If not, that's fine. I can pick that up at another place. That's
No, it was just being confident in what you're talking about too, and it comes from listening too. I think that if you listen a lot more and you learn from some people like Dan Meyer, you got more
don't
stories
do
to
that.
share.
Do not do that.
Yeah.
But no, I think obviously it goes into just having a conversation, and I don't know. I guess just felt more comfortable with it and didn't have too many problems with it, and like I said, I think it probably come by it a little naturally from him.
It's going to be something that you will be needing to apply throughout the rest of your career. I promise you, my friend. No worries on that. Now that you're here, what was the thing that you were like, you know what, I really hope at the All-Star game this is like this? Meaning you've thought about it being however it could be. Like it's walking into the locker room, it's going to look like this. Meeting somebody, it's going to go this way. The exchange will happen like this. What are you hoping is like the way you've dreamed it up?
I mean, really, it's going to be giving Ronald his water and towel when he's in, hopefully, the finals tonight. And I think,
yeah.
That's
awesome. See,
That
that's
was
cool.
my thing, and I always enjoyed taking BP. I'm always trying to take BP even when we're not. I always played the home run derby on MLB The Show,
Sure.
and that was always most fun to me, was going out to a field. Let's have a home run derby,
Just
and
dropping head.
so I think I'm excited for that tonight for him, because I think he's going to put on a show. But no, obviously you go through it in your head a bunch, and having pitched in the Futures game 2 years ago, it's probably the only time I've ran in from the bullpen, I think.
Okay.
So making that run into the bullpen or from the bullpen, I guess, is probably what's on my mind right now the most, just because that's going to be a little different. You're going to take the ball from Nolan Arenado and somebody like that, and you're I mean, that's when it's going to kind of...
That's when it's going to sink in
all
for
right,
you?
This is yeah, let's go.
Oh, damn.
Right.
Let's go.
Oh,
Yeah.
damn.
We were down in spring training. We hit Braves camp, and the Braves, they like to flex on their history. They had some guys there. There were some names walking around at spring training camp. Was there any legendary Brave that you had a conversation with during spring training that gave you a little talk to or gave you a piece of advice?
Yeah, a couple, actually. I think the one that was most applied was Tim Hudson.
Yeah.
He was there a couple of years ago.
Awesome, dude.
And obviously sinker. That was cool to talk to him about that. But the one guy I've been kind of blown away with was Dale Murphy. Yeah, he's been around in our organization for I don't know how many years. I mean, he's been so good to everybody. He's so humble. He's in our low A clubhouse and he's introducing himself to people, and it's like,
yeah, we know who you are, man.
So
we got it.
No, I mean, you can talk to him about anything, and he's kind of been the guy. He's genuinely excited for where this organization's going, and you see him all the time. He's always got a smile on his face, and he's the one that's been awesome to talk to, and kind of. I mean, it's just so easy to take advice from somebody that's just so humble. And
Have you felt the pressure or any pressure within that organization? And I ask you this question because coming up through the Oakland organization as a left-handed pitcher, right? I had Mulder and Zito, two of the big three that people were constantly trying to compare me to, which I have no idea why. Like I threw 85 and they threw 94 and lots of better stuff. You obviously have the Maddox and the Smoltz guys that are talked about at length, celebrated rightfully so within those halls. Do you find yourself being compared to those guys? And if so, how do you handle that? Or is that something that you're like, look, I'm my own dude. I'm going to slice and dice to my own tune. I appreciate the comparisons, but I'm me.
Yeah, I think that's the approach that most of us took when they made the rebuild fairly obvious back in, this was 2015 was my draft. And so a bunch of us, Colby Allard, another one, I mean, he was getting the Glavin comparisons right from draft, you know, and that's where it's real, and you kind of got to take it for what it is. I mean, it's special to be able to be compared to some of those amazing pitchers.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you do have to take a step back, realize that even those guys when they were coming up weren't
them.
Weren't
Greg
them,
Maddux
you know,
became
exactly.
Greg Maddux.
That's exactly what, and I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand that you can't just see a future Hall of Famer in the minor leagues. You know, that just doesn't really happen too often. And so I think understanding those comparisons and being thankful for them, and then, like you said, moving on and understanding that you're going to be your own person because, you know, you're going to hit ups and downs.
Sure.
And I think where I felt the down was last year when I got hurt, and understanding that you get out there and all of a sudden they say, oh, these guys didn't get hurt. These guys, you got people coming up behind you, and then they're getting the comparisons. You're kind of, you get the...
you go from prospect to suspect real quick.
Exactly, and that's where you kind of realize how quickly the industry can change and how unforgiving this game is.
Oh, yeah.
Learning that the first time is definitely kind of a wake-up call.
Take your pitch repertoire. What pitches are in there?
Right now, last year it was getting classified as a sinker, but right now I guess it's TrackMan's got it as a two-seam fastball. So,
what do you call it though?
I'd like it to be a sinker.
Okay.
Mainly just because I'd like some separation between that and my four-seam. So the four-seam's been actually the work in progress because it was sometimes cutting, sometimes sinking. So we're kind of straightening that out.
You getting a lot of good feedback on the Rapsodo?
Yes, stuff like that.
Spin
to be able
efficiency.
to see a little bit of that, and then also see how it plays to the hitter. So ideally, if those two pitches are roughly the same velocity and they split off two different directions. So those ones, and then I'm always in, I wouldn't say fights or arguments, I guess, with guys about my breaking balls, because I call it a breaking ball.
Sure.
And it's classified as a slider, and it doesn't seem to matter how slow or hard I throw it. It's always a slider.
Gonna be a slider.
I try to have curveball tilt on it. Really,
Okay.
that's how I throw it. I guess I always had a bigger breaking ball coming up. I always loved to see that move, and I always loved to see it get around
break,
it.
Right.
And it kind of sped up on me in the minor leagues, and we got it to where it was a little more tight. Played off the sinker a little better. Yeah, exactly. And so I think just finding that one and finding some consistency with that one was where I wanted to be, and probably gonna pull out another one. I don't know, maybe later next year or this year. I don't know. Maybe it's a cutter, maybe it's a slower curveball. So
No
just
change?
that one.
Just
And then-
anti-changeup?
No, and then
Yeah, I was
circle
gonna say,
change.
yeah.
Circle change. Yeah.
Okay.
That's actually been huge for me later in lineups, especially once the four seam comes out too, because it's actually more of a straight change. A lot of guys will throw the two seam change because they want to see the
Right, they want to
hard
see the
bite.
movement. Yeah.
But I found where mine plays a little better is when I get it to look exactly like a four seamer, and it's a little more.
Now, Jared has heard me talk
Forward
about this ad nauseum about the pitch presentation, and you just said something that gets me really excited because you understand four-seam fastball, four-seam rotation. What does that look like to the hitter? Why are we now trying to reduce velocity, but also present them with something that they can identify damn near out of the hand based on rotation and get them to just spit on?
Yeah.
When you've got your kind of stuff, and you can start to make one pitch look like two, or make another pitch look like what it should be but isn't. Like that's what you call dastardly, right? That's deception. That is. So I'm excited to hear that. Sorry.
Yeah. No, and that's exactly where I kind of found that pitch. Was in spring training, and Flowers was catching me, and noticed that when it came out right, he said that I'm not tooting my own horn.
No,
anything,
yeah.
but he said that the good ones looked more like you forgot
To throw hard,
or like you forgot that you were supposed to throw a changeup and you threw a fastball. And that's when it comes out. And it looks like it's coming in. Yeah, it looks like it's coming in hot, and then it's
just hit the sheet.
Exactly, and those are the ones that I tried to do every single time. So that's where I found a lot of success with that right on right too. given up 2 bombs this year on that pitch, but
Work in progress.
It's kind of a high risk, high reward pitch.
Sure.
Who got
Starling Marte, and Pete Alonso. So Alonso is
got 30
he
bombs
got through
at the
it.
break.
Sure. Yeah, he got through it, and he's a
accept
strong guy. I mean,
Yeah.
you're going to see a bunch of those.
But
tonight.
the reason why I asked you that, so you got 4-seam, sinker, slider, circle change. You can ditch any one of those pitches, but you have to take the same pitch from another active pitcher in the league. Which pitch are you subbing out, and whose pitch of the same kind are you taking?
I mean, since I said the 4-seam's a work in progress, I'd probably ditch that one and pick up DeGrom's 4-seamer.
Okay.
I'll take that one.
Okay.
Yeah, that thing's got life.
Yeah,
That thing's
I'll take
got
that one.
life.
Yeah, that thing picks up after
Yes.
a little bit.
Yes.
I've tried to hit it a couple times.
Not so much. Okay, you know what? Now I've got 2 questions. I've got the last question, but you piqued my interest when you started talking about trying to take BP.
Yeah.
Who's the best raker in the rotation?
We give him a lot of slack because we don't want to tell him this, but it's Max Fried.
Okay.
He's a good athlete, and he's just got that whip, and he looks like a hitter
He
when
looks
he's up.
hitterish up there.
Yeah, he when he swings the bat, he's up there to do some damage, and I got to pick a few things off him too.
Nice.
This is how he does it, and it's him.
Do you have a question? No.
That was my finisher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the All-Star game, you get to draw up the finish, your performance. Let's say it's an MVP type performance, all right? How does the All-Star game play out for you? Are you starting this ball game? Are you closing this ball game? How does it unfold?
I mean, obviously, if you're gonna shoot high, you may as well shoot as high as it goes, right? I mean, I think what Pedro did in the All-Star game, something like that would be obviously the dream. I mean, you want to start the game and you want to throw 9 pitches in the first and have 3 strikeouts.
Yeah, I got you going 3 innings, punching out the entire lineup. Wave the cap. Shout out to Wim Hof. Shout out to Pops. And, I mean that's
full-on,
right. You do it all. Yeah. I mean that's a great. That's just me. That's just me.
I mean
It's
if
your All-Star
you're
game.
gonna envision something, you may as well envision the best thing possible.
Why not?
Not to say you aren't prepared for anything that goes wrong, but
Right.
no, you may as well envision blowing 9 fastballs by a guy and maybe mix in a couple breakers in the second inning.
Just to taste it. Just
Yeah, exactly.
give it a little.
Exactly.
Next time you come on, we're giving your dad a mic.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
That's a good
like,
idea.
That's gonna be a thing that has to happen. Thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. Best of luck to you in the second half, and congratulations again, All-Star.
Oh!
All-Star.